Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. It's my favorite time of the month where I get to set up another month in my bullet journal. Today I'll be setting up October. I can't believe it's already October. This year is going to be over before we even know it. Anyway, I hope that you enjoy this video and let's go ahead and get started. As per usual, I'll be starting off with my cover painting. I have my watercolor paper taped down onto my acrylic clipboard to try and prevent warping. As always, all products used will be listed in the description box down below if you're curious. For October, I wanted to try something a little different. Typically, I like to use richer and deeper colors to match the rustic fall season. However, I wanted to go for something a little more delicate and a lighter color palette for this month. I've also never done a record player theme before, which, if you've seen any of my previous bullet journaling videos, you may already know how much I love incorporating music into my bullet journals. So the fact that I've never done some sort of music player theme was such a surprise to me. But here we are. Originally, I was actually going to incorporate more elements in this theme, like vinyl records, cassette tapes, and CDs, but I ultimately went for this minimalist and simple design of a wooden record player. I surrounded it with some vines and leaves to add more colors, since I love the combination of browns and greens together. I applied the watercolor paints in light washes and added a couple layers in some areas to gently build up the opacity for shadows. I still wanted there to be some depth in the piece since I didn't want it to look flat, but I made sure to only add a couple of very light layers so it didn't appear too harsh and dark in the end. After the paint was dry, I took my smallest black fine liner in a 003 size and gently outlined the painting. I purposely skipped over some areas to further enhance the effortless and dainty effect of this piece, as I felt like solid lines would have been a little too bold. For this month, I'm going with a lowercase vintage typewriter font. Now that the simple cover painting is complete, I'm pasting it into my bullet journal, which is a B5 sized Archer and Olive dotted journal. Moving on to my monthly page, I'm writing October in that same typewriter font using a thick 08 fine liner. I thought this lowercase typewriter font paired well with this theme since it goes along with the vintage and rustic aesthetic. Now I'm taking that very thin fine liner again and outlining my monthly calendar, monthly challenge, and brain dump boxes. Again, I'm purposely not creating a solid line, nor is it completely straight either. I think the imperfectness really enhances the theme. I'm also drawing another line close to it to almost give it like a scribbled look. Same with the font, the outlines are also a recurring element throughout this setup. For this little monthly challenge box, I basically draw a little calendar, and at the start of every month, I'll think of a challenge to take on and I'll write it above that calendar. As the month goes on, I'll cross out the days that I successfully did the challenge. Examples would be no spending or no junk food, and then you'll just cross out the days where you didn't spend or didn't eat junk food. Now I'm just adding a bit of color to this page using my watercolors again. I'm mainly stuck with beiges, greens, pinks, and grays for this month's color scheme. To add a little more decoration, I pasted in a couple strips of washi tape. This sheer vintage music sheet design of course had to make an appearance. This is one of my absolute favorite rolls of washi tape. It amazes me how much is left with how often I've used it. Money well spent. I'm also adding a couple branches of leaves on this page to make sure everything stays cohesive. I really enjoyed all the doodling for this month's theme. It was so therapeutic to draw these leaves, and they were very easy to doodle as well. They also added a natural and earthy feel to this page, which I love. I'm adding a light wash of paint to the leaves. It's a little hard to tell on camera, but I tried adding a little variation to the leaves by incorporating more yellow or more brown to the green here and there. That way, the leaves just have a little more dimension. And here is my completed cover page and monthly spread. This may honestly be my favorite cover painting I've done all year. I just love how simple and delicate it turned out. Moving on, I'm setting up my doodle spread next. I'm again taking the thick 08 fine liner to write October at the top of the page in the typewriter font. I'm also labeling my monthly favorites and memories boxes. For my monthly favorites box, that's just a little section I like to dedicate for my favorite things from the month, such as music, TV shows, movies, dishes, items, etc. And for my monthly memories, I print images off of my phone at the end of every month and paste them in this box. And if there's enough room, I'll fill the rest of the space with a little journal entry. As for my doodles, I set the boxes up in a calendar format and draw a moment from each day that basically sums up that day for me. Now I'm just adding some decorations, such as this gorgeous monochromatic sticker of a record player, as well as some more washi tape. I'm adding more branches and leaves to this page, and I'm also adding the individual leaves as if they've fallen off the branch and are now flying away. I think it adds an interesting dynamic and flowy feel to the spread. I'm dabbing on some watercolors throughout the spread and incorporating the earthy color palette. I of course had to include a lyric down at the bottom as I typically do. I thought that this one was perfect from the song Pink Lemonade by James Bay. And with that, my doodle spread is complete. I love how minimal this turned out with just a few splashes of color scattered around the spread. Now on to the final spread of this video, my first weekly spread. I'm starting out by outlining each of my boxes in that same scribbled and imperfect manner. This is definitely the most time-consuming part of my weekly spreads, but it's well worth it. Having some sort of box or guideline to keep my writing contained in really helps to organize my mind on paper. I think knowing that there's a specific box to house multiple aspects of my day really helps to ground me and keep me focused on what I need to accomplish. And since I've started including the boxes for media that I digest, whether it's movies, music, TV shows, games, or books, it's also helping me stay mindful of the content that I choose to consume. And because I've been documenting it, it's just interesting for me personally to see what phases of content and genres I'm into at the time, and to see how that evolves over time as well. I've also started including a new box labeled Topics, as that's where I'll jot down any random thoughts I want to discuss or questions that I have for my sister during our weekly calls. So as some of you may know, my sister and I live thousands of miles apart from each other, and we've always made it a point to stay in touch often. So for the past 3 to 4 years, we'll schedule a night every week to talk on the phone. So I didn't find this out until very recently that she actually makes little notes in her journal while we talk so that she can remember to follow up on something in future calls or just things that she wants to remember about the call in general, which I thought was such a sweet and brilliant idea. So I wanted to find a way to incorporate that in my weekly spread since I usually have my bullet journal out while we talk anyway. So I split my notes box in half to make room for a topics list. Anyway, that's the story as to why I have yet another box on my weekly spread, if you were familiar with how it looked before. And here is my completed first weekly spread of October. Here's a flip through of today's spreads. Thank you so much for watching, it truly does mean a lot to me. Let me know what theme you'll be doing for October. I'd love to hear from you. As always, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.